Zach Jackson's going to join us later in the show. We'll talk with him and do fence riders with him.
We got to pour some out.
What you pouring a little bit out for?
Jhonkensy Noel.
Yeah. Pour a little drink out.
Well, he's not dead, but he's
It's a sad day.
Sad
He
day.
got DFA'd.
This is for my homies. This is for my homies.
That Christmas.
Yeah, John Kinsey.
They did him wrong. They could have waited till after Christmas.
Well, you know what's funny?
They got him wrong.
They got him wrong. It's disrespectful.
By
They got
the way,
him on the third day of Hanukkah.
that was the fourth day, fourth night.
I thought it was going to be crazy. I thought I had it.
No, it's fourth night. Here's the deal. Here's what's even funnier. So what happens is when a player is designated for assignment, I've probably explained this before, but there's a lot of fans that don't know what it means. So I'll explain it briefly. When you get designated for assignment, it gives you a week to do one of two things. Okay. You can trade the player or put him on waivers. All right? Then, if you don't trade him and he goes on waivers, one of three things can happen then. Either he's claimed by somebody on waivers and they pick him up. Mm-hmm. He is not claimed by somebody on waivers. Mm-hmm. In that case, the Guardians can assign him to the minors and he'd still be part of the organization. But he would have the right to refuse that assignment and could just go on the free agent market if he wanted. But that won't happen for a week. So in theory, he could officially be waived on Christmas Day.
Does he get – that's wild. Does he get the same amount of bread?
Disrespectful.
Like say they waive him and you know what I'm saying,
He does not have a set contract yet, but he's in the stage of his career where he's making like minimum salary or maybe like 10 to 50,000 above that.
So what's the minimum?
I want to say it's $750, something like that. Mike, do you know? Do you have it? Can you find it real quick?
The vet minimum of MLB?
I think in baseball it's 7 something, I think.
I'm not going to say 750,000 is poor, but boy, 750 like in today's climate.
760.
760. So
he got a regular life.
So my guess is
ain't a regular life.
He got a regular life, bro.
So he's probably not
fine.
At most he's making like 800 at most. Which is probably not even that.
That's a good.
Oh, it's a great living for 99% of people.
I mean, G over here shaking his head like it ain't.
I mean, he ain't. Listen,
he ain't hurting.
He not hurting, but he can't make no mistakes. You better not go to jail.
He might can make one.
No, you better not get into jail. You better not have no taxes. You can't have a baby mom or extra one. You can't have a gambling addict or addiction or drinking.
He's from the Dominican Republic, I think, isn't he?
He shouldn't be gambling nothing with the Guardians.
Can you look up what country he's from, Mike?
Ortiz gonna tell
John
on
Kinsey?
you.
I think John Kinsey's from the Dominican Republic, I believe.
Yeah, DR.
Okay, and obviously, especially in the DR, that money's going to go a long way.
Yeah, you know what?
If he lives there, which I assume he does.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
But anyway, he'll end up somewhere. But my guess is somebody will take him on waivers or like a trade for cash or something. In fact, the reason he got DFA'd,
he gonna go to the Yankees.
Nah, I doubt it. A team like the Rockies or the White Sox makes sense. That has
Paul DePodesta.
Yeah, send him the Paulie.
Serious question.
Yeah.
This is I was thinking about it. I don't know why I was thinking about it. We had a conversation on before we did overtime yesterday about the Guardians.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how many guys the Guardians have that played a little bit. Like, they brought up DeLauder and they had a lot of their young guys that was coming up there.
Yeah.
In terms of those young power hitters, how many of those guys do you think that they'll continue to rotate in? Or do you think they'll go a veteran route out of spring training and have, some of the guys? Because it doesn't seem.
Do I think they're going to be in the big leagues to start the season?
Yeah.
The guys who just came up at the end of the year?
End of the year.
Unless they're absolutely terrible in spring training, I would think that DeLauder, Valera, and Kafis will all be on the big league roster to start the season. Minimum 2 out of 3, but probably all 3 because A, I think they're clearly all ready to play in the big leagues, in my opinion. And B, I don't think, unfortunately, they're going to spend a significant amount, if any, money to improve the offense.
How did Bazana finish the season?
He was hurt at the end of the year.
Again?
I think he'll be up by June. I think he'll be in the big leagues by June. But here's the thing. The reason they had to they didn't have to DFA John Kinsey.
Of course they did.
The reason they did is because they had just acquired a player who had been DFA'd by another team by the name of Justin Brewhill, I think he's pronounced his name. I think he's a lefty reliever. The Guardians have actually acquired 3 relief pitchers in the last couple of weeks. All are promising. They've strengthened the biggest strength on their team. Obviously, they need a lineup. So I'm listening to MLB radio this morning, which I listened to the show Power Alley with my buddy Mike Farron. I say my buddy. We haven't actually met in person, but we text, and he's a really nice guy. And
if you text with somebody, that's your buddy.
Yeah, so he's my buddy.
If you're texting,
and Dan and Dave Jim Duquette, not Dan Duquette.
I thought you said Dan Dockage.
No, not Dan Dockage. He's not my buddy. Jim Duquette. And I listen to their show every morning when I come in. It's called Power Alley on MLB Radio. And they teased that they were going to talk about John Kinsey, right? So I'm like, I got to stick around for this. So they're talking about John Kinsey, and then they moved on to get into, they were talking about the relievers they've added, and all of a sudden Mike Farron goes, I bet you my buddy Adam the Bull, great sports talker in Cleveland, I appreciate that, Mike, the compliment, is listening right now getting angry that we're not talking about adding hitters. And I immediately texted him and said, I am listening, and I'm pissed. And then they start going through a list of hitters that maybe the Guardians could sign, and it was one crappy name after the next. They did mention Harrison Bader, who's fine. I wouldn't be opposed to the Guardians signing him, because at least he's a legit center fielder, and the Guardians don't really have a legit center fielder. And he's good against lefties, so he could be another platoon guy. But
do you think all the Cleveland sports front offices know what the definition of insanity is?
No,
because they definitely do it. Then it's kind of crazy.
Again, I don't want to lump.
It's insane.
You can't lump the Browns in with the other two teams. There's the Browns.
Yes, you can.
No, the Browns are way worse than the other teams.
Okay, right, yeah, right.
I mean, yes, but it's still insanity.
Been levels of success on a somewhat consistent basis from the Cavs and the Guardians.
The Browns have practices. The Browns, the Guardians, and Cavs have practiced insanity for the past 3 years.
Tyvis, you weren't here yesterday, right? Was you?
No,
you weren't here. Mikey, I think for overtime, I think he had left.
Yeah.
We started talking about at the end of the show. We started talking about the Indians' payroll.
In 1997.
Listen to this. Yeah. This is wild.
In 1997, for those who didn't see this in overtime, the Indians had the 3rd highest payroll in baseball. 3rd. They were paying Albert Bell $10 million that year. He was the highest paid player in baseball. The Indians had a higher payroll than the Phillies, than the Dodgers, than the Cubs, than the Mets. And only the Yankees and I believe the Orioles had a higher payroll than the Indians in 97.
And remember, you said it was like what 55 million that their payroll was?
Right, but by 2001, the Indians' payroll was 95 million, and it was still like the 5th highest. I think the Yankees were the most at like 112, so it was very competitive. Their payroll is half of what it was in 2001 at the moment.
So how much is the payroll now?
55, 60 million.
So you telling me in 1996 the payroll is identical to the payroll 20
and it's 40
it's how many years?
30 years later.
It's 30 years later.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's 40 million less than it was in 2001. As of now, they'll probably spend a little bit of money. I shouldn't say that. It's crazy.
It's insanity.
I mean, do you know what's
That's not the front office's fault, though. That's the owner's fault.
Whoever.
Yeah. And when did Dolan take over?
I can't remember the exact year, but it was after that.
Oh, okay.
It was after. I don't remember the exact year off the top of my head.
But nasty work.